When this sad boy goes to his girlfriend's house, he sees his own father kissing his girlfriend. He barges inside, unable to control his anger any longer. Will they fight, or will the son forgive his own father? Let's find out. This boy named Soto is searching for the woman he loves. When he finally finds her in a quiet, empty alley, he calmly walks toward her, unaware of her true intentions. The girl, Yuno, leans closer to him, suddenly piercing her nail into his cheek before walking away. Soto is confused and goes home to tell his mother what happened. But his mother only tells him to forget about Yuno, reminding him that she has been missing for 3 years. No one knows the real reason for her disappearance, except for Soto himself. 3 years ago, he had gone to visit Yuno at her house, but what he saw that day changed everything. He witnessed Yuno spending time alone with a vampire, who slowly bit her neck and drank her blood, but strangely, left her alive. Ever since that day, Yuno has been living in hiding. One night, while Soto is performing at a roadshow, he sees Yuno again. Shocked, he follows her and finds her being attacked by a group of masked strangers. Soto tries to protect her, but they only laugh at him. Their leader, a cultist named Takumi, strikes Yuno with a steel rod, but to everyone's surprise, her injury heals instantly. Soto is horrified, and the attackers claim that Yuno is not human, but a blood-sucking vampire. When they attempt to kill her, Soto cannot let it happen. His love for her is too strong, and he shields her with his body, refusing to move. Later, when Soto regains consciousness, he finds Yuno tied up. He rushes to free her before sunrise, but just as he opens the door, sunlight floods the room. The rays touch Yuno's skin, and her body begins to burn slowly. As Yuno screams in pain, Soto makes a desperate choice. He offers himself to her. Yuno sinks her fangs into his neck, drinking his blood, and little by little, her injuries begin to heal. When Soto wakes up again, he is lying in a hospital bed, with Yuno resting on another bed beside him. As he steps outside into the sunlight, his skin starts to burn, and he realizes the truth. He has also been transformed into a vampire. A strange man appears and tells him not to worry, explaining that this hospital is meant only for vampires. The man introduces himself as Itaru, and the nurse taking care of them as Karen. Soto slowly accepts that he is now a vampire like Yuno. When Itaru offers him some of his blood to drink, Soto refuses. He still wishes to return to being human, together with Yuno. But deep down, he knows it's impossible now. As time passes, something strange begins to happen to his body. He slowly continues to transform into a full vampire. Yet, despite everything, Soto feels happiness when Yuno finally wakes up, alive and by his side once again. After that, Itaru takes Soto somewhere new and introduces him to more of his friends, members of his music band. Itaru insists that Soto should become their lead singer, but not everyone in the group is ready to accept him so easily. Some band members doubt Soto's abilities and question Itaru's decision. However, others have different opinions. One of them even suggests that they should at least give Soto a chance, since Itaru himself brought him in. Soon, Soto begins to feel an unusual hunger. His body weakens, and he collapses outside. As a woman approaches to help him, something inside Soto snaps. He loses control and attacks her, trying to drink her blood in front of everyone. Luckily, Itaru appears just in time and stops him. The terrified woman runs away, but Itaru chases after her. When he catches her in a secluded place, he bites her neck and drains all her blood. He doesn't realize that another human girl, Suzuki, has been secretly watching everything from a distance. When Soto finds out what happened, he becomes furious. He can't believe Itaru just killed someone. But Itaru defends himself, saying he had no other choice. He had to erase the evidence of their existence as vampires. Then Itaru turns to Soto and tells him to drink the woman's remaining blood before he loses control again. Soto refuses, disgusted by the idea of feeding on a human. But Itaru pleads with him, explaining that this is the only way vampires can survive. Meanwhile, Suzuki secretly messages the vampire hunter Takumi, warning him about what she witnessed. Moments later, a couple of police officers arrive at the crime scene, frightening both Soto and Itaru. With no choice left, Itaru finishes draining the woman's blood completely, causing her body to crumble into dust particles, leaving no trace behind. Soto is disgusted by what just happened and runs away, unable to bear the sight of Itaru's actions. Just then, the vampire hunters arrive at the scene. Takumi, their leader, ambushes Soto while he's alone. But instead of fighting or fleeing, Soto does something unexpected. He begs Takumi to end his life. Takumi raises his weapon, ready to strike, but before he can fulfill Soto's wish, Yuno suddenly appears and attacks him. She quickly grabs Soto and escapes, taking him to her hideout. Once there, Yuno realizes that Soto won't survive much longer if he keeps refusing to drink blood. Out of desperation, she offers him her own blood. Soto refuses at first, horrified by the idea of hurting her. But when Yuno pleads with him, tears in her eyes, he finally gives in. Slowly, he bites her neck and drinks blood for the first time as a vampire. Afterward, Soto notices a strange tattoo on Yuno's back, the same mark that belonged to the vampire who turned her 3 years ago. The memory fills him with unease, but he stays silent, choosing not to say anything. Later, when Soto returns to the vampire hospital, Yuno begins to feel weak. To recover her strength, she attacks a passerby and drinks their blood in secret. Meanwhile, Soto struggles to control his own hunger. His vampire instincts begin to take over, and just as he's about to attack someone, Yuno appears again and stops him before it's too late. At the same time, Suzuki returns to the scene where her friend was killed by Itaru. There's no body left behind, but she discovers her friend's earring lying on the ground. Heartbroken, she meets with vampire hunter Takumi, who confirms her worst fear: her friend was truly murdered by a vampire. One night, Soto's school friend, Asuka, who used to enjoy listening to his street performances, comes to visit him again. However, Soto is afraid to introduce her to his new band members, because they are blood-sucking vampires, while Asuka is human. Worried for her safety, he warns her never to come back to this place. But the next day, Asuka shows up again, determined to see him. One of the vampires, Yuki, becomes enraged at the sight of her, his eyes glowing red with hunger. Before Yuki can harm her, Soto quickly intervenes and takes her away. Once they're alone, Soto gets angry that she ignored his warning. He scolds her for returning, but Asuka simply says she only wanted to see the old Soto she used to know, the one who sang with warmth and kindness. While talking, Soto notices blood dripping from a small injury on Asuka's neck. His instincts begin to take over, and his hunger grows uncontrollable. For a brief moment, he nearly bites her, but at the last second, he regains control and pushes her away, horrified by his own behavior. Hurt and confused, Asuka leaves without saying another word. Unbeknownst to them, Yuno has been watching from a corner, having heard everything. Seeing Asuka's affection for Soto leaves her heart heavy with jealousy and sadness. Overcome by emotion, Yuno suddenly kisses Soto, desperate to remind him that she's still by his side. The next morning, Suzuki meets with her friend, who turns out to be Asuka. Suzuki tells her about the vampire who recently attacked and killed her best friend. When Suzuki shows her a picture of the culprit, Asuka is shocked beyond words. The vampire in the photo is none other than Soto. That night, Soto spots his mother on the streets, handing out missing posters with his face on them. She still believes her son is lost, unaware that he's now a vampire. Soto watches from afar, torn between guilt and love. When his mother collapses from exhaustion, he finally rushes forward and gently picks her up in his arms, holding her close as tears fill his eyes. Soto can't bear to see his mother suffer because of him, but he knows he has no choice. He's now a vampire, and there's always the terrifying possibility that he might attack his own mother for blood. Haunted by guilt, his thoughts drift back to Yuno, the night she first turned into a vampire. Desperate to see her again, Soto goes to her house. But when he arrives, he's shocked to find her with another man, a stranger she has lured inside, only to drink his blood. Soto freezes at the sight of Yuno feeding. His heart shatters, and unable to watch any longer, he quietly leaves and returns to his band club. There, his strength fails him, and he collapses. When he wakes up, one of his vampire friends looks worried. They remind him that he hasn't had human blood in a long time, and that his body is starting to weaken. Another friend laughs at his stubbornness but adds something surprising. He says there might be a way to turn back into a human. Meanwhile, Suzuki takes Asuka to meet the vampire hunters. Their leader, Takumi, confirms that the boy in the poster, Soto, is indeed a blood-sucking vampire. Asuka is heartbroken and refuses to believe it, but Suzuki insists she saw Soto and his friend killing her best friend that tragic night. Takumi warns Asuka to stay away from Soto, explaining that even if he once cared for her, he could one day attack her for blood. At the same time, following his friend's advice, Soto visits a private institute rumored to be connected to vampires. The institute is secretly run by vampires who drink their students' blood and even turn wealthy clients into vampires in exchange for eternal life. There, Soto meets a mysterious vampire woman named Mikey. He tells her about Yuno and begs her to help turn Yuno back into a human. Mikey smiles softly, claiming she has been studying vampires for a long time and has developed a medicine that might cure them. She agrees to help Soto, but she doesn't reveal her true intentions. Soto rushes back to Yuno and tells her with excitement that he has finally found a cure for their vampire disease. Later, when he meets the vampire Mikey, she leads him into a dark, empty building. Without warning, she suddenly stops, turns toward him, and bites his neck, drinking his blood violently. Mikey is furious that Soto would even think about turning back into a human. She calls him a fool for believing such a thing is possible and accuses him of endangering all vampires by seeking a cure. To test his loyalty, and to awaken his suppressed vampire nature, Mikey brings Asuka before him. She drags the terrified girl into the room and, right in front of Soto, cuts Asuka's neck slightly, letting blood drip down. Smirking coldly, Mikey tells Soto to drink Asuka's blood and satisfy his hunger once and for all. At the same time, Itaru learns from his other vampire friends that they have sent Soto to meet vampire Mikey, and he begins to grow concerned. Meanwhile, Soto's instincts begin to overwhelm him. He trembles, struggling to resist as the scent of Asuka's blood fills the air. His eyes glow, and he nearly gives in, but then Asuka starts crying, and one of her tears falls onto Soto's lips. The human warmth of her tear snaps him out of his trance. Gasping, Soto regains control and refuses to drink her blood. Just then, the vampire hunters arrive outside the building. In the chaos, Mikey escapes, disappearing into the shadows. Soto quickly frees Asuka, and together they try to run away. But before they can escape, Suzuki appears, now dressed as a vampire hunter, seeking revenge for her murdered friend. She points her weapon toward Soto, but Asuka steps in front of him, stopping Suzuki. Taking the chance, Soto runs away into the night. Later that evening, Yuno visits the Vampire Institute to meet teacher Otoni, the man she loves and the one who turned her into a vampire long ago. Tired of running and hiding, Yuno tells him that she no longer wants to fight her fate. She only wishes to spend whatever time she has left by his side. The next morning, Asuka decides to say her final goodbye to Soto before leaving the city for good. But on her way, someone blocks her path in the shadows. Not long after, Soto confronts the vampire boy who had originally sent him to Mikey. As they argue, the door of an old cupboard creaks open, and Asuka's lifeless body falls to the floor. Soto is devastated. Someone has murdered her. In her cold hand, he finds a letter written by Asuka herself. In it, she says her final goodbye and urges Soto to keep following his passion for music, no matter what happens. Heartbroken and furious, Soto suspects that one of his band members killed Asuka and hid her body there. But before he can act, Itaru stops him, explaining that a vampire wouldn't have left a body behind, they would have drained all her blood completely. Itaru believes that a human killed Asuka. Yet, he also warns Soto of something even darker, that there might be an imposter among them, pretending to be a vampire all along. Meanwhile, at the Vampire Hunters Academy, Suzuki learns about Yuno's death. She is filled with rage and heartbreak, as Yuno had always been a loyal friend to her. Seeing her anger, the leader Takumi advises Suzuki to stay calm, to gather her strength and take revenge on the vampires responsible for Yuno's death when the time is right. Back in the vampires' hideout, Soto, Itaru, and the others decide to uncover who the imposter is among them. Itaru comes up with a plan. They will expose themselves to sunlight, and whoever doesn't burn will be revealed as the human traitor. But before they can test their plan, vampire hunters suddenly arrive, armed and ready for battle. Chaos breaks out. The vampires scatter in every direction. Some are captured, others manage to hide. Soto tries to escape but is confronted by a revengeful Suzuki, who attacks him fiercely. Soto tries to explain that he was not the one who killed Asuka, but before Suzuki can strike again, she is suddenly attacked from behind by Itaru. He knocks her unconscious and drags Soto to safety. Knowing that Soto is too weak to defend himself, Itaru offers him his own blood, helping him regain his strength. The vampires barely manage to survive the ambush and retreat into hiding. Rei and Ito manage to evade a group of hunters as well, but just when they think they're safe, one hunter appears before them, revealing himself ominously. When Soto wakes up again, he finds himself back inside the special vampire hospital. Beside him, Itaru lies unconscious on another bed. Later, when Itaru wakes, Soto notices a familiar tattoo on his back, the same one he had seen on the vampire who turned Yuno into a monster years ago. The realization hits Soto. Could Itaru have been the one who turned Yuno? But before he can question him, Kento appears and informs them that Yuki and Masato have been captured by the vampire hunters. Before they can even move to rescue them, Rei and Ito suddenly appear. They reveal the shocking truth: the human traitor among them is actually Kento. When Kento still pretends to be one of them, Itaru steps forward and tries to suck his blood to confirm whether he's truly a vampire. But Kento panics, grabs Soto as a hostage, and threatens to kill him. In that tense moment, Soto's rage explodes. Realizing that Kento was the one who killed Asuka, he loses control. His vampire instincts take over completely, and he bites Kento, drinking his blood in front of everyone. A flashback reveals Kento's tragic past. He once loved a girl, but she was killed by a vampire before his eyes. From that day, Kento swore revenge against all vampires. To get closer to them, he joined a vampire band, pretending to be one of their own. But over time, he grew fond of their friendship, something that made his hatred and guilt even heavier. When Kento wakes up later, he finds himself chained to a wall. Because Soto bit him, he has now turned into a vampire himself. Itaru has kept him alive, determined to get answers. He wants to know everything Kento learned from the hunters. Meanwhile, Soto confides in Yuno. Though he's still angry, he admits he doesn't regret biting Kento, believing it was justice for Asuka. For the first time, Soto accepts his identity as a vampire, no longer fighting it. In response, Yuno steps closer, unbuttons his shirt, and reveals a new tattoo on his back, the same mark that appears only on special vampires, the ones chosen by fate. Later, when Itaru and the others decide to let Kento die of starvation for betraying them, Ito becomes deeply troubled. Worried about Kento, and about the band's future, he sneaks into Kento's room and offers him his own blood, defying everyone's orders. Even after freeing Kento and loosening his chains, they soon realize that Kento has gone missing from his spot. Meanwhile, two vampires capture Masato and Yuki, but when the vampire hunters examine them, they realize neither of them has the special tattoo that Takumi is searching for. Takumi believes the vampires with that tattoo are the same ones who killed his parents. As despair grows among the captured vampires, Masato wishes he could see the love of his life one last time. Just then, Kento appears, ready to save them. But before they can escape, the other vampire hunters surround them. Takumi, the leader of the vampire hunters, is furious and disappointed to see Kento now siding with vampires. Kento pleads with him to spare the others' lives, begging him to let them go. Takumi suddenly slashes Kento's neck with his blade, but the injury heals instantly, revealing that Kento has turned into a vampire. While Soto and the others search for Kento across the area, Kento confesses to vampire hunter Suzuki that it was actually he who killed her best friend, Asuka, because she had discovered that he wasn't truly a vampire. Suzuki is stunned and confused, unsure whether to believe him or Soto. Kento takes advantage of her hesitation, grabs her as a hostage, and uses her to force the vampire hunters to release Yuki and Ito. Together, Kento, Yuki, and Ito manage to escape from the hunters and reunite with Soto and the rest of their vampire friends. Itaru is relieved to see everyone alive and urges them to return home. But Kento stands still, torn between revenge and friendship. He remembers the girl he once loved, the one who was killed by a vampire, and realizes they're standing in the very same place where she died. A wave of sorrow floods him. The very kind he once swore to destroy, the vampires, have now become his closest friends, his new family. As the others move closer to him, even Soto feels deeply moved. For the first time, he wants to truly join their band, not out of obligation, but from his heart. The vampire boy band begins performing concerts across the city, becoming a sensation that makes their close ones proud. But when the sun rises after one of their shows, it brings another sorrowful moment. Kento decides to end his own life, saying he can no longer bear living without the girl he once loved. The others are devastated and try to stop him, but Kento doesn't listen. He steps into the sunlight, and the rays pierce through his skin as the other vampires watch helplessly, unable to save him. Heartbroken, Soto goes to meet Yuno, but what he discovers shocks him to his core. He learns that Yuno, the girl he loves, has been sleeping with his missing father, the vampire Otoni. When Soto confronts them, Otoni calmly tells him that it's normal for vampires to share everything among their family, even women. The words shatter Soto's heart. His mind flashes back to the days when they were a happy family, before the darkness of vampirism tore them apart. Enraged, Soto tries to attack his father, but Yuno stops him, claiming that Otoni is a good man working on a secret plan to make the world better for vampires. Otoni smiles proudly, expressing his happiness that his own son has also become a vampire. He invites Soto to join him and work together. But filled with fury and disgust, Soto storms out, leaving the two behind. The next morning, a schoolgirl arrives at Soto's home and tells his mother shocking news. Her supposedly dead husband is alive and working as a teacher at an institute. The girl also seems to know about Soto. When his mother asks how she knows all this, the girl explains that her own lover has also gone missing, and she has met someone who promised to help them both. Meanwhile, Itaru and the other vampires feel an emptiness after Kento's death. As they struggle to move on, Suzuki approaches Ito with a knife, seeking revenge. But when she learns that Kento, the one who killed Asuka, is already dead, she hesitates. Ito, already broken inside, tells her he isn't afraid of death anymore. He plans to throw himself into the sunlight the next morning. At the same time, Soto's mother secretly follows her husband Otoni and is horrified to see him with a young girl half his age, Yuno. Rage and heartbreak consume her. She now hates Yuno and her unfaithful husband, vowing to take revenge on both of them. Meanwhile, Otoni meets with a group of wealthy vampires. He reveals that he has found someone extraordinary, a girl who is half human and half vampire. Because of her unique blood, she can walk freely in the sunlight. The vampires are thrilled, as Otoni claims they are close to using her blood to create a medicine that will allow vampires to face the sun without fear. Later, when Yuno finds Soto at her place looking for answers, she reveals a painful secret. Her own biological father had sexually abused her since childhood. It was Otoni who saved her and set her free. To comfort Soto, Yuno offers herself to him, but he feels disgusted and runs away. At the same time, Rei meets one of his many girlfriends to plan a hangout. Suddenly, she handcuffs him and kidnaps him. When he wakes up, he's in her room, surrounded by pictures of himself. Feeling betrayed by Yuno and his own father, Soto becomes upset and hungry. A stranger woman approaches to check on him, but he hallucinates that she's Yuno. He attacks her and drinks her blood. He doesn't stop there. He attacks another person too. Meanwhile, Yunai is being used as a test subject by Otoni. He gives her anti-sunlight tablets. These tablets are made from the blood of a little girl, who is Nurse Karen's older sister. The girl is tired of being locked up in the hospital all the time. Later, Mikey tells Otoni that Soto is causing trouble. Otoni rushes to stop Soto from killing random people, but Soto refuses to listen to his father. At the same time, Suzuki listens to Ito's story. Ito was bullied so badly in school that they nearly killed him. Itaru saved him, and Itaru has a unique tattoo on his back. Suzuki immediately shares this with Takumi. Takumi is excited because this is what he's been searching for, a vampire with a tattoo. One of their group members, bitten by Soto, starts turning into a vampire. Takumi orders them to burn him alive. After that, Suzuki brings more vampire hunters to ambush Ito, who had shared the information. They capture Ito and call Itaru and the other vampires. They demand the tattooed vampire in exchange for Ito's life. Itaru goes to the vampire hunters and meets Takumi. Takumi reminds Itaru that years ago, Itaru killed Takumi's parents and left him alive to suffer. Itaru begs Takumi to kill him instead and spare Ito. But Takumi has bigger plans. He wants to kill every vampire. Even though Suzuki begs him to spare Ito, Takumi opens the curtains and lets sunlight burn Ito alive. When vampires Yuki and Haruku arrive, they learn about Ito's death from Suzuki. They go to save Itaru, who is now captured by Takumi, but still alive. Takumi wants to make Itaru suffer endlessly. Suddenly, someone attacks Takumi from behind. It's Suzuki. She stabbed Takumi in the back. Comment down below for part 2. See you in the next video.